If you have an EX86110, with about 10 minutes of work, some snips and a sharp knife, you might be able to make this thing a whole lot better. You might recall from my review that the EX86110 only could do 2 of the 6 test problems. I want to see just how close to all 6 we can get with just some changes. I snipped these off, so now it's just a neat bar. I tidied that up. I took one of the 2 upper links off. I cut a little bit of the body off, so now it sits on the upper. I cut the shackle brackets off the front and rear of the bumper. So there's a bunch of stuff that the truck doesn't need to carry around anymore. Then I've moved the front and rear bumper in several holes. I'll put some photos up while I'm talking here so you can see. So now the approach angle is better and the departure angle is better, and you'll see that part of the body I trimmed off, that's this bit here, that's so that it can sit on the bumper instead of behind the bumper. And I cut some of that bumper off. It used to have some plastic lugs that went over it, so now this thing can sit flush. It's not completely neat, it's pretty good. So now our departure angle's better as well. I did put a set of Hyrax on with dual stage, firm rear, soft front, and heavy wheels. I also moved the shocks and springs down 1 hole, front and rear. It does raise the center of gravity slightly, except these springs are so soft it already kind of sits down onto them anyway. And then I put a spacer at the top of all 4. I tried with 2 spacers at the rear and none at the front, but it was too low at the front and too stiff in the rear. So I found 1 spacer on all 4 corners, did the trick. We checked to make sure the geometry was good. It's got full throw of steering still. The wheels clear the wheel wells almost completely. There's the tiniest bit of rubbing, but it's tiny. I weighed the wheels as well, and the original wheels were 111 grams. The new ones, that's with the tires, it's about 100 grams extra per corner. So all of this is going to really help. My biggest criticism of this rig was its value. It's within $100 of the nicer rigs like the Gen 8 V2 or the Sendero HD, and yet its performance was sorely lacking. So we've gone and made a bunch of changes. Hey Tolly. That shopping list of things has meant that we have a reasonably different rig. Join me now, we're going to throw it around a 6 problem course and we'll see just how much difference these changes have made. Let's get to it. Problem 1. First run. If I was spending money on this thing, the next thing I'd change would be the motor. We don't need a reverse here. That's the slowest I can go. It's still too fast. Yeah, changing gearing down a tooth or 2 on the pinion could help, but it's notably better. The stock servo's not bad either. Well, that's problem 1. Okay, problem 2. Now the lighting's different because I had a problem with my data file from the earlier recording, so we're just going to do it again so you can see it do it. It did do it before with no trouble, and it'll do it again now with no trouble. These Hyrax is helping the truck make short work of this problem. Look at it gripping there. That's nice. Right, problem 3. One thing to be aware of with this tyre change is that the previously adequate servo is more likely to be overwhelmed with the wider and stickier tyres. Doesn't hurt to keep an eye on that. I mean, they were soft, but they were moderately hard compared to nicer crawling rubber like what they're on now. And so you just have to keep an eye on the servo, on its temperatures, and like if it starts to fade, like now, I was trying to go left and it can't really. That's a good way to heat it up and cook it. Yeah, it's still a bit fast for my liking. Yeah, we got fade. I don't think problem 3 is going to happen, but we'll give it another go. See if we can fall it over this way. Nope. That's alright. 3's out. Problem 4. Yeah, I'm barely using the throttle here, so this is the slowest it can go right now. That's minimum speed. So with this gearing, I mean, we could try a smaller pinion. It's got 48 pitch pinion and spur. We could go smaller on the pinion, but I still think it'd benefit from a 21 or higher turn motor. Yeah, the servo's overwhelmed, but if we're careful, I think we'll keep it going. There we go. Look at that, problem 4. In the bag. Nice. Problem 5. Now we couldn't do 3, but we've done everything else. 1, 2, and 4. Servo's fading. But look at that. No doubt about it, this truck's doing better. And you see our approach angle is making a big difference. Servo's battling at this point. So just generally speaking, if you put stickier, wider tyres on, remember the servo is going to be working a lot harder. A lot harder. We'll get this, but yeah, she's working for it. We'll finish neatly. There we go. So that's 5 done. Nice. All right, the big one. I don't know how much battery we have left. It's only a 2 amp stick. There we go. Smooth. Well, that's a definite improvement. We did problems 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. The servo, it's warm. It didn't actually get hot, but it faded a bunch. These Hyrax tires are really sticky, stretchy, and they're wider than the stock ones. So that's going to add load to this thing. And the other thing is the 17-turn 550 motor, it's still too few turns. Our battery life isn't great. It's all right. We could do all 6, and I mucked around for a while here. But my low speed control, like my lowest, that's the slowest speed, and that's not loaded. When you add load to it, it's still really hard to go slow. That's still as slowly as I can go. Yeah. So gearing could help, but the turns, we need more turns. We need, or even a higher quality ESC that gives you more steps might also be helpful. But I think even just switching out from a 17-turn 550 3-pole to a 21 or even 27-turn 550 3-pole, that would really bring home the control for this thing. The only problem we couldn't get is problem 3. Now that tests our ascending, and that's with some of the better tires available. They're the Predator compound. Here's the key with this thing. Being that it's 3/4 the price of the brand name competition, you want to be able to spend less, not more, to bring it up to speed. Otherwise, what are you buying it for? The Sendero HD is 20% more expensive than this again, and out of the box is vastly more capable. But this is actually a superior trail truck. It's solid enough that it can tow. It's got better speed than the Sendero, and I think it's a more, it feels like a more complete model. But the Sendero can out-crawl it. It can crawl rings around it. There's no overdrive on this thing. And really, its biggest letdown is that lack of low-speed control, which you get with the buttery smooth 5-pole 540 on the Sendero. The Gen 8 V2 might be a more apt comparison, and its tyres aren't great either, but its tyres are better than this thing's stock tyres. Putting Hyrax and just cheap no-name wheels on this thing, and just doing the other cuts and modifications that were $0 apart from the wheels and tyres, that's going to bring you to roughly Gen 8 V2 stock money. Well, we know from the problems it can do. This can outcrawl the Gen 8 V2 in its current form, and it costs about the same when you factor in the tyres and wheels. If you have an EX86110, Hyrax or the crawlers, the BFG Goodrich crawlers on Predator rubber with dual stage foams. I've got harder in the back and softer in the rear. That's a good way to go. I'm just using the Enduro wheels. That adds about 100 grams each corner, and the other modifications you can make, all of this is added up to a more capable rig. That's a big win. The next upgrade to do would be the 21 or 27 turn motor, and after that you might think about changing the servo for a nicer servo and a BEC. That'd be the next thing after the motor. And then you can probably leave it and just drive it. I said this from the start, and to be clear, this is a nice machine. It's got lots of potential, but the value just wasn't there for me, which is why I wasn't so hot on it in the review. It's still a nice enough machine though. And you can see, just with some snips, just cutting off the stuff, even if we keep the stock wheels, this is still a good machine. I'm gonna get the stock wheels on it now. I'm just gonna punt it around after I charge the nickel metal hydride battery. I'll punt it around the problems again, just so we know, and I'll put that up now. We'll just see how, whether it could do all 5 problems that this could do with the Hyrax. I don't think it will, but it'd be good to know. If this was useful to you or interesting, throw me a like. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time on RC-TNT.